I think the next thing I want to talk about, and something I think we've improved a lot on, is the cadence of how we track and manage that. Because I think in years past, 5-6 years ago, we would build a budget and then we wouldn't really look at it. Maybe you and I would look at it monthly, but we weren't tracking it. We weren't coaching to it. We were just letting the year happen to us, and we weren't like driving the entire business off the budget. So you mentioned we have a operations team. We call it the ops team. And then we have our business team, business leadership, called the biz team. Ops team generally reports to you. Biz team generally reports to me. Why don't you talk about the ops team and your guys' cadence for tracking, and then I'll talk about the biz team and how we track things.
There's two key places that we track. The first one I'll talk about is we call it our weekly L10. So this brings every operational leader, so business unit, so think of your electrical manager, your plumbing service manager, your sales manager, install. Every single department leader is in the room every week. And we go over each individual KPI. It takes about almost an hour every week, 45 minutes to an hour, just to go over all the KPIs and how we're tracking. The important piece of this is not only are we tracking to where their conversion rate, average sale, turnovers, membership sales, we're tracking their margins. So we're having conversations every week and creating specific action items to make sure that we're on pace for this budget. And our leadership team really understands the levers that are driving these margins. For example, let's say recently we've had a little bit higher material and plumbing service. So we've had conversations about that. It starts in the operational L10. This is your budget. You're at, your material percent budget is at 20%. You've been at 23%. Why? So we go through, then that ties into our one-to-one. So every week I've been reviewing the job costing report with our plumbing service manager. We're going through every job that is above 20% material and figuring out why. And if it's acceptable. Sometimes it's acceptable. Sometimes it's a customer-approved discount. Sometimes it's a really high material job where it makes sense, and that's okay. But we just need to know the reason.
Sometimes
why.
They're working for my dad or
sometimes,
me.
Yeah, those are really low margin jobs. But not to get too far off the weeds there, because there's a lot of places we can do. The number one place, the budget build, is our weekly scorecard review, and it never leaves. So that builds that. The second place, which I think in 25 was our biggest movement, is the daily huddle.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a PACE report. The PACE report shows exactly where we're at with our calls, our revenue, our home plans, and how we're pacing to the month. And it's broken down by the day. So every single day we have our operational team in the daily huddle. We do ours at 9 a.m. And this is figuring out what they need, their daily needed revenue, and what KPIs they need to do with the calls that they're going to have that day. It's the life of our business. So we quickly review yesterday's results. We have key action items as far as, okay, what do we need to change from yesterday? What went wrong? What went great? And then also one thing that we really, really do well on is who do we need to recognize? Who's absolutely killing it? Who's celebrating it? And then we use our platform called Discord to celebrate them. But the most important thing of the daily huddle that's tied to the budget is what is each department's individual revenue goal for today? It's a dynamic goal. It changes every single day. What are we going to do to hit this revenue number, conversion rate, average sale, to get there? That's the revenue portion. And then the weekly scorecard is revenue plus margin. Because you've heard the saying, revenue is vanity. And in a lot of ways, it really can be. So we don't want to be the business that grows by 40% every year and is not profitable because it's not sustainable. We want to be the business that grows by 40% every year and that's double-digit profitable, and that gives you a lot more flexibility. So I don't know if that answers exactly.
100%.
There's a lot of ways we can go deeper in that, but we'll leave it for there.
I'll talk about the biz cadence.
Yep.
So the biz team, how I look at it is very much from everything you handle and manage. Your job from a financial standpoint is above the line. When I say above the line, that's the gross profit line. So you handle revenue, you handle direct labor, you handle direct material, and you handle sales expense and a little bit of financing and other. All right, that gives us our gross profit. Everything below the line, that's my job.
Yep.
I got to make sure that overhead, that's our overheads. That's what I got to make sure to dial in. So we have kind of a mixed biz and ops meeting called MOR, Monthly Operating Review. Huge believer in bringing a third party in to do that. We use Nexstar. Love having our business coach help with that MOR. We're in the weeds every single week, every single day of what's happening. Super easy. We're not an excuse culture by any means, but it is easy to make excuses. It's easy to make, even if you're not saying the excuses out loud. Well, we didn't have the calls. Of course our conversion rate was bad. We lost the best plumber, whatever. It's easy to do that. So when you have a fact-based third party that is looking at that with a fresh lens and able to walk us through that monthly operating review, I think it's been great. That's about an hour and a half meeting. Every single department leader goes through and tells the story about their month. What happened? Where were calls? Where was conversion rate? Where was average sale? Where's direct labor? Where's material expense? Basically, it's our entire month. What happened there? What happened there? We review net gross profit. We look at net profit. All right, how was the year? That's a really good meeting. Love that meeting. There's some people from the biz and ops team both in that meeting. Typically, within the next day or two, that meeting usually, our books close on the 10th. That meeting usually happens by the 15th. We try to get it in by the 15th. And then between like the 15th and 18th or 15th and 20th, we have our biz review, our overhead review. So go through, I think there's 55 lines of our overhead and on our P&L of overheads. We go through line by line. Where do we budget? It starts with like employee, I think it starts with training. So, all right, training line. We have our employee experience manager in there. Training budget was this, and this is where we were. If it's good, great, very good. If it's overhead, what happened? Where's training? What are we looking at for the rest of the year? Where are we year to date on the training budget? Are we still in line? If not, let's make adjustments. Go down every single line. Admin expense, marketing, vehicles, building expense. I mean, every single line is looked at with everybody in that room who impacts that. That meeting to me has been one of the number one drivers of profit because we've been able to identify things that are happening in our business that we never would have recognized before. Paige, our controller, accounting manager, is entering thousands of invoices that hit overheads every month. So it's impossible for me, my responsibility to look over the overheads. I can't possibly know every single invoice that's hitting and track and manage. And I think that's what we used to do. I'd sign the checks. Things that were paid online. I'd get a report, seeing what those were. I'd look at the credit card report, but it's so easy to lose track of. And then all of a sudden we'd have a great gross profit month and come in and our overheads are at like 45%. And that just happened to us. And then the next month it would build onto that and build onto that. And we felt like I've ran the business before for years where I felt like I had no control over profitability, like none. I think that the combination of daily huddle, weekly L10, monthly operating review, biz overhead meeting, that's where we start to control the profit.